So James from Time Flies in the shop wanted to see me put these away to see where I would do that, what space I would make. I've got 2 bags of them, I've got loads of them, so I need to find a big jar for them. Let's do these. Let's do these. Now, I've got that, but I don't think those 2 will go in there quite, so we want a bigger one. So, we haven't got a bigger one, so what we need to do is go searching. Look, that's not being used to its full capacity, is it? No. So if we, I don't know if you'll see anything there. Hold on. If I put you there, don't fall over. Let's get this one. I reckon they'll fit in there, no problem. So we've got a big one, not full, and a slightly smaller one, but we want a big one. So let's tip these nails in there. Come on, come on, come on, come on. In there. I think they'll go. Quite easy, actually. Yeah, they'll go. Just keep rattling them. Keep rattling them. Feed them in. Come on. In you go. That's it. Hold on. So what was an efficient use of a big jar? Use that in a smaller jar. I'll put that back on the shelf where we got it. And let's take this one and let's fill it. So we've got this one. We've rescued it from a smaller amount. Let's give it a bit of a drink. Let's rip one of these open and tip these in there. Oh, actually, they've got spare room. Give them a good drink. Because you don't know when you're going to see them again. It might be next year. It might be in the next 5 years. Might be in the next 10 years. Who knows? And you'll see them again. So there we are, look. They've gone in there, lovely. So you can't just, it's a, what's it called? A dynamic shelving. You have to keep moving stuff around all the time. You can't just put it on a shelf and leave it. You've got to make full use of it. And they're nice and oiled and a nice airtight lid. They will last there. They won't rust or rot. They'll last there forever and a day until we need them. There's this week's arrival. And let's get hold of last week's arrival. And we put them on the shelf. Oh, put them on the shelf. One in front, one behind. That's all you need to do. They're up there now, aren't they? So let's do the next lot. Remember we made a little green tub, we put a lid on it, and this was like the overflow. So let's go and deal with the others now. I know they're all the same and matching, and I know they're plastic, but I might keep them for another job. Here's my sort of middle-sized. There's a few odd sizes there. There's 2 big ones there. So we can always resort to 2 big ones. These are like mid-ones. I'm guessing, I'm hoping 2 of these will do the trick. Yeah, one of them, and one of them. Come on, let's go and see if 2.5 each in each one. Let's go and try that. I decided on these. First of all, when I do them, I like to use the same type jar, you know, if I can. So let's see how we get on. Let's put these in here. See what they're going to take. Oh, they're going in pretty good. Pretty good. Tap it. Give it a nice drink. tappy tap tap. Are we going to get away with 2? I don't think so. We might. Let's tip that in there. Ooh, no, not quite. Which is okay. We've sort of got a plan for that. We're prepared for that, aren't we? Now, do you see? I'll make this slightly full. Slightly heaped now, isn't it? Well, slightly heaped in there. Let's give it a good drink and a good tapping. A real good tapping. And you'll really be surprised how much extra you can get in. More than you think, actually. I think that was heaped. Now it's there. Give that a bit of a shove, bit of a tap. There we are. So, there's that one. To save the film, I'll just fill this one again now. We'll see where we get to. It turns out we ended up with 3 jars. Well, it's no big deal. Put the first one up here, up there, which is behind. And then let's go get the other one. Now, have you noticed? Sort of be aware of what jars you collect. These have got nice big square lids, look. So if you know you've got 3, so there's your first one, and there's your second one behind. Well, select your jars very carefully. And you see this one? That's sort of a square jar, isn't it? And we're putting them on the top shelf anyway. So now, because they've got a nice big lid on it, let me hold on a minute. Right. I can put that on top of it. So I can put 3 there in the space of 2, with the space of the one on top. And it's not going to roll off on the thing because it's a pretty sort of squarish, not rolling away jar on 2 jars with pretty big lids. So you've got to sort of think about what you got, where you're going to put it, and what jars you're going to use. So I knew that might turn into a 3-jar job, so I'll put it in 2 that could go underneath and 1 on top. There's a way of getting them in the shelves, you know. So I've chosen this bag to go in there. Looks a bit big, it might not go. So I'm going to put a row in the bottom, nice and tight, and that gives me plenty of room to put another row up above. So I'm going to cut the film off, and let's see how we get on, because we'll just use loads of film. But I'll put the first ones in very carefully and sit them in the bottom, and I'll show you that in a minute. Carefully place them in there, up here where I can reach them. Yeah. So now I'm going to gently push them to the bottom. Very gently push them, get them to the bottom, as gentle as they'll go. And then, there we are. You see, now that's going to allow me, I've got as many as I can in there, and that'll allow me to put another pile in here, so I can get as much in a jar as I can, so I'm not wasting any space and they're not crisscrossing and jamming each other up. Second lot, I've got 1 tangled up there, but it doesn't matter. I put 1 pile in. Let's rattle this other pile in now. Give it a shake. Oh yeah, that's settling in nicely. Do you think, will we get another layer in, or we'll get some loose ones? Let's try again now. Let's keep going, see how many we can get in there. So here it is, full. I put the maximum amount I could get in the bottom of it, and then I put another layer in the top. Wasn't as successful as the top layer, and then I put these in on the top. You know, sometimes you've got to crisscross them, or you've got to, you can't put them all one way because it takes up the space. But anyway, keep doubly deforcing them and keep tapping them, and all of a sudden you've got, will it go on? Yeah. You've got the maximum amount in, so we know that jar is absolutely full of them. You probably won't get them all back in again, but you can just take one or two off the top as you want. So we're doing the most, using all the space that's available to us to put as maximum amount in the jars. So they don't always, I know I use these little 10 mils quite a lot. I keep jars and jars of them. So I know I've got these. So you also have to keep an eye on what you can top up. So that'll top up nicely. And whilst we're there, we'll give them a drink. And we'll put the lid back on. And we'll give them a good stirring. So we've not only topped it up, but it'll take a good stirring, so you don't know when you come to them again. But they're all right. So we'll put this on here. Wrong lid, I think. Yeah, wrong lid. We can afford to put a bit more in there. So let's give this a drink. Give it a bit of a shake. Wake everything up a little bit. We've got these, haven't we? Was it 10? Oh, wrong size. Is it wrong sizes, mates? I nearly. Sometimes you can't presume and just tip them in the tub. No, these are smaller. Okay, plan B. Go find the smaller tub of them. And sometimes you're lucky. You just choose the right jar with that fits the right amount of stuff. Big or little, let's give this a really good drink. And then let's put the lid on it and then give it a good shake up, so we know they're all nice and slippery and oily. Yeah, lovely. You see, that's good enough for them. Lovely. So then sometimes, so that you don't use a whole jar and a jar space on that and a whole jar and a jar space on this, sometimes you just sort of mix them. Make sure they're so much different, but they're different. But the reason I'm putting these in the same jar is because they're, be careful when you drop them in, these heavier ones. Make sure it doesn't break the thing. So we'll put a few of them in. And obviously that'll create a space in between, won't it? Which will allow the little ones to go in. So these are both Allen key head ones. That's why I don't do them zip-blocky bag things. So let's put a small layer of those in. Tap it down and let those little ones take that space up. And then we'll have a few more of these. We'll have a few more of these. Another layer of that. It's almost like a cake. But you see, that takes the space. But I know what they are. They're the same. I'll be thinking to myself, I'm looking for Allen head ones. So if I can find big Allen head ones, and I can see small ones, I know in here is Allen head ones. What are we doing? Little ones now. So let's put a few little ones in there. Give it a good rattling and shaking. Give it a drink. Put a few more of them in there. Whoops, we've dropped one. We've had an escapee. Where the hell has that gone now? That's right, I've got it. Let's get it. You don't escape from the jar in this place. Let's put the rest of them in. So, okay, it's not ideal, but it's not taking the space of 2 jars, and they're still quite as easy to find, because when you're looking for a Allen head one, the little ones will be in here with the little Allen heads too. So sort of method in the madness, save space. So there's another one, not quite full, small enough to take that amount in, so we can just put them in there and we'll give them a drink and they'll be just fine in there. So you have to keep an eye on them all the time. What do you use? What jars are emptying? You have to keep an eye on the jars you're emptying, because you might make use of the jar. Here again, look. You've got to go looking in case you haven't used them all up. Got a few spare here. This will be nicely. Obviously, I think that was probably full when I first put it on the shelf. Now they're not quite the same. These are a bit longer. Yeah, they're a bit longer, but they're near enough. You know, if you're looking and searching, you'll be looking more or less in the same sort of area for the same size. And so you can just top up the jars that you've got. Yeah, and again, give them a nice drink. So this is the same nuts, same type thing, but a bigger one and a smaller one, but I want that space. So, oh dear me, I've given them a bit of a drink. We'll take a few of these out. We'll throw a few of them in, and we'll let the little ones go around them, and they'll settle in. If I would have just put them straight on top, they might not have fitted in. But big ones and little ones, and that's how. Oops, nearly forgot to give them a nice drink. You must always give them a nice, every jar you open, no matter what you do with it, always give it a nice drink, and not too big of a shake, but a bit of a rattle around, and then she's ready to go back on the shelf. And so, James, with a bit of jiggery pokery and a bit of a moving around of the jars and a bit of adding to the jars and a bit of moving, all of a sudden, that delivery, or that last week's induction, the last week's delivery has all of a sudden disappeared into the shelves. And we're good and ready. We've got some empty jars up there ready to fill again with maybe next week or the week after that or the week after that. So as long as you're you've got to be very efficient with your jar filling and try to only keep full jars on the go all the time. Don't waste any space. Miraculously, that's how the deliveries disappear into the shelving. Now, trying to find them's another thing, but anyway, and we've still got plenty of spare jars on standby, different sizes, different types, different everything. So even a spare. So we can we're fully prepared now for the next delivery. And no doubts that'll disappear into the shelving somehow, some way. So I hope that explained to you. And of course, we've got a new garage next door, haven't we? The Goldwing shelving. So, yeah. So that's how I managed to stuff all of it in one place. So, do you remember we put those chisels and stuff. Let's go down. Right, remember, we put them old chisels and stuff, didn't we, in the vinegar. And here they are, live and at the scene, coming out of the vinegar. So yeah, I think it sort of softens up the rust or any filth. Anyway, here they are. The vinegar is still vinegary smelling and all the rest of it. This I couldn't fit in, but I did sort of pour it over it, so hopefully that helped a bit. So let's hit them with the wire brush and see how they come out then. Dun dun! Here they are! Look at these beauties. Look at that. What was a hunk of junk, what was on the floor, sad and rusting away, was kindly given to me, but would have ordinarily, the wife or somebody would have thrown them in the skip or whatever, never seen the light of day again. So if you wanted to split a brick, there's your brick splitter. I've took the burr off the end of it, did the same as this. It was all curled over on the top. Put it in the vinegar, give it a good clean. This looks like a homemade one type thing. Maybe. Yeah, no name on it. And here's another one. Again, just a punch, just a handy punch. Yeah. And this one. Here is a Spear and Jackson. This one. So I'd say this is pretty tough metal, that is. That would be specifically made, wouldn't it? So what I'm saying is, for the sake of 50p each in the car boot, or £1 in the car boot, or whatever, and you're doing a job, and you said, Reggie, have you got something that can belt this thing out this hole? Well, before today, I'd have to say to you, no, I haven't. But now I've got this and I've cleaned it. Now I can say, oh yes, I've got one of those. I come into the shed, your garage, your toolbox, and you've got one, haven't you? And it might be the difference. If you said to me, Reggie, have you got something we can jam between there and separate those? I say, yeah, I have. Here it is. Yeah. Or you know, if it brought a job to an end, you need to reach in some. I guess you'd make a hole in a brickwork or a concrete or whatever with this. And you'd say, Reggie, have you got one of those? And I'd say, I haven't. Oh well, we can't continue the job. We haven't got nothing to do the trick. Well, then I said to you, well, go to the local hardware store, go to the little B&Q or wherever you buy these things in your local area. You wouldn't come up with much change for this lot. 10 or 20 quid, I would suppose, new. Easily. So, for the sake of getting them, cleaning them, tidying them up, bringing them back to life, you can add, these are now added to a toolbox. These can go to work now, can't they? And they've cost virtually nothing. A bit of a wire brush, a bit of electric to run a wire brush, and a bit of vinegar in a jar. And of course, your toolbox is growing, isn't it? And even this, it's a piece to weld in if you want a piece to weld in. Or I can imagine this. My sort of mind is thinking, oh, that would do a handy linkage somewhere, something. If you were making something, you'd weld this to something, and because, as you know, I see that as a hole already drilled. So, you know, if you wanted to make a connection or wanted to do something or make a keep or a catch, or there's so many things you can make with things, but if you ain't got them, you can't make them. So you've got to have them, clean them up, put them in your stores. So a Reggie tip. And if you keep doing it and keep picking stuff up and keep adding to your collection, all of a sudden, you've got lots of tools to do as many jobs as you want. Scoutcrafter, we saw that. You liked the way it transitioned from being a, what's that, a hexagon to a round, but somebody's turned this into some sort of a screwdriver or a little chisel at the end. But anyway, it's well worth, never walk past these rusty tools on the floor, in the car boots for pennies, you know, 50p. Get them home, clean them up, and put them in your toolbox. And one day, they only have to work once for them to justify themselves. But you might end up, oh, this is a handy thing, and you might use it over and over and over and over again. So what was rusty and knackered, in the vinegar, on the wire brush, trimmed up and cleaned. Voila. And obviously some of it's sort of handmade in work or whatever, just as good. But when it's made by a brand, that must be especially strong stuff, I guess. So here endeth the lesson, the reggy lesson for today.